Hey Family Church, here we are at day 2 of our week of prayer and fasting. And I want to encourage you today again around what we're doing. Now, when we come to a time of prayer and fasting, which we're doing as a church, as individuals, but also as a church together, we seek to silence other voices and distractions. That's why it's two things, not one. We're not just praying, we're not just fasting. We're doing both together. We're creating time by fasting. We're being deliberate in creating time by fasting so that we can have more time of prayer, not religious prayer, not dry religious prayer times, but times where we just spend time with Him, saying, God, would you speak to us? God, this is what's on our heart. Let me know what's on yours. Now, when we have a time of prayer and fasting, a week like we've chosen, it's a time when we silence other voices with the purpose of tuning in to His voice. When you're fasting food, it's amazing that when you fast food, you suddenly hear in a greater way the voice of what we would call your flesh or your flesh life, your appetites. And it's amazing that when you begin to lay aside eating certain food you like or spending time watching things you like to watch, suddenly your soul begins to respond, sometimes like a child, me want that, me want that. And it's amazing how you can suddenly hear the voice of your flesh, or we could call it your appetites, in a stronger way than maybe you have before. But it's also a moment when, as you lay aside or tune out of other voices, you can suddenly begin to hear the voice of the Holy Spirit in a clearer, maybe a more concise way than you have for a while. The flesh can be such a loud voice with all of its appetites, with all of its self-absorbed demanding, me want to do this, me want to eat that. Now, when we're in a time of prayer and fasting, it's a good time to, number one, recognize that voice. But also when you recognize it, say, do you know what? I'm going to take control of some of these appetites, not just in this week of prayer and fasting, but I'm going to be conscious of them in the year that follows. So I want to encourage you, be listening out for voices that are voices that you need to silence for this season, but also be tuning in and listening out for what God is saying to you. Now, think beyond yourself when we're praying as well. I think that's the key thing about our praying and fasting. It would be so easy to say, I want to pray and fast this week about me. These are the things I need. I need to hear Jesus. I need to encounter Jesus in a fresh way. That's wonderful. And like we said yesterday, I believe He will be the rewarder of all of those who diligently seek Him. But also, we're doing this as a church. So I want to encourage you this morning, as we spend time today praying, fasting, laying aside things for the purpose of encountering Him in a fresh way, let's also be praying for everyone else in Family Church. Let's be praying, God, I want to encounter you. Jesus, I want to encounter you in a fresh way. But I also want everyone in Family Church to be encountering you. At the end of this week, I want to be hearing stories from and accounts and testimonies from people right across Family Church saying how they met Jesus in a new or a fresh way during this time of praying and fasting. Also, let's add to our list of the communities that we're in. Wouldn't it be wonderful that as we spend this week praying and fasting for ourselves and for our church, we'd also remember the communities that surround our church. Portsmouth, Waterside, Gosport, Havant, Waterlooville, all these different areas where we're present as God's people, His church. Let's also be believing, Lord, let the people around where we do church have encounters with you, Jesus. All of a sudden have an awareness, all of a sudden have what we've termed a Bethel moment. So that's my encouragement for you today. Let's be shutting down other voices and tuning in to God's voice. Let's have an appetite and a hunger for a Bethel moment, like Jacob had a Bethel moment, where the God that we've known in one layer or degree suddenly becomes so much more real in our lives and in the lives of our church family. So here we are, day 2.
Come on, let's go for this. Let's believe God that he's going to be meeting us at every turn during our prayer and fast, and also I'm believing that people are going to experience miracles, because when you encounter him, you encounter and experience the miracle worker. So God bless you, and I'll see you tomorrow when we start day 3 of our time of prayer and fasting. God bless.